Hi everyone, my name is Dwayne Stutzman. I am here today to talk to you about our brand new ranch horse showmanship and horsemanship classes, which are both exciting new additions to our already growing ranch horse division. My focus is going to be giving you a brief overview of both classes, their structure, tack and attire required, how the classes are scored, and provide you with some video examples. Just as in any other showmanship division that we have, ranch showmanship is an opportunity for our ranch exhibitors to show their horses in hand as naturally as possible. The idea is for the handler to maneuver the horse through a pattern with a set of specific maneuvers that may involve backing, turning, walking, and trotting in a variety of directions, and of course setting the horse up and posing for inspection. Three elements that I'd like to bring forth in this discussion is the appearance of the animal, the appearance of the exhibitor, as well as required tack, and then talk about showing a ranch horse in showmanship. Horses in this showmanship class should be shown with full manes and tails, or they might also be thinned or roached. The horses are supposed to be shown, again, as naturally as possible, although trimming is encouraged, especially about the bridle path, the head, and over the muzzle. We shouldn't see any banded or braided manes, braided tails, tie-in tails, extensions. All those things are not allowed. And of course, hoof dressing is not permitted, as well as we see in some of our other ranch divisions. As for the exhibitor, we expect suitable clothes for the ranch division, which should be worn to mimic this workmanlike class. Although chaps or spurs are not permitted, so even though you might wear chinks or spurs, for example, in a riding class, we don't want to see those in showmanship. Overall, the tack should be clean, neat, supple, and of course properly fitted. As a judge, that is the number one issue that we run into is ill-fitted tack, so make sure that it fits your horse properly. The horses can be shown in either a plain leather halter, a nylon halter, or even a rope halter with a matching lead. And you can have a chain on the lead, that is optional. Now, as for showing these horses, they should work throughout the pattern with a reasonable amount of speed. So basically, as they complete each maneuver, the horse completes it accurately and with a lot of precision and smoothness is what I want to see as a judge. So when asked to perform a maneuver, for example, like a stop or a back, or pivot over the haunches or set up for the inspection, those maneuvers should appear effortless and should be performed in an efficient manner with very subtle cues. When an exhibitor is showing a ranch horse in showmanship, what we would like to see is the horses being led and posed similar to what you would see in Western showmanship, including the proper display of quads when the judge is walking around the horse and the exhibitor at inspection. When backing, the exhibitor should stay to the side of the horse and never be directly in front of the horse. That's not just in backing, that's any time throughout the pattern, as we wouldn't want to see in any other showmanship division either. A judge is going to be looking for that horse and handler that is prompt and moves through the pattern with ease, really. And that means the horse is attentive, he's responding to the handler's requests to stand still and square, and while he's doing that, the horse still remains alert and is going to turn when cued. And exhibitors should walk or run or move in a natural state as well. You should avoid stiff or artificial movement, which is going to be penalized at the discretion of the judge. Remember, the whole goal of showmanship is to show your horse to its best advantage. I've included some photos here of some nice examples of ranch horses moving and set up. You can see in the top photo, this individual is using a rope halter and lead, which is perfectly acceptable. The horse is very well groomed, is clean. The mane and tail are brushed out. The horse stands nice and square. The exhibitor is attentive and is ready for the judge to perform that inspection. And the bottom photo is a moving shot where the handler is also looking up and forward where she's going. She has a plain leather halter and lead and holding the lead correctly. She's standing in the proper position between her horse, somewhere between the horse's eye and the horse's shoulder. She's in a very nice position as she works in unison with her horse. Both exhibitors also provide a good example of attire that we might see in ranch horse showmanship with jeans, pants, a proper shirt, and of course a hat or helmet is acceptable. As many of you know, this year we are rolling out a new and improved updated scoring system for our pattern classes, and the new and updated showmanship class score sheet will be used to judge the ranch horse showmanship class. It will be important for exhibitors to review the new scoring system for the penalties that are associated with this particular division, and we'll review those here in just a moment. But this is the basic layout of the score sheet, and each exhibitor is judged on maneuvering their horse through a set pattern. And for each particular maneuver, the judge may assess a penalty score if a penalty occurs. And then for every maneuver, the judge is going to assess a maneuver score that's going to range from -3 to +3. And you can see at the top of the page that the range for those maneuver scores is from extremely poor, a -3, to a +3, which is excellent. And a 0 is considered correct or average. Again, the penalty scores and the maneuver scores are assessed separately. A penalty only occurs if a penalty is identified in that maneuver, and the maneuver score is the subjective evaluation from the judge that is given for every single maneuver throughout the pattern. Exhibitors also have an opportunity to earn extra points through an F&E score, which is known as form and effectiveness. This is an opportunity for the judge to grant the exhibitors for their overall impression about their performance. I encourage you to become familiar with these score sheets so that when you do attend a show that these score sheets are utilized, you'll be able to go through them and figure out how you performed. The penalties listed at the top of this score sheet are copied verbatim from the Uniform Rules for 4-H horse shows, and they're split into 4 categories: minor, major, severe, and disqualifications, and we'll go through these now. So for those of you wondering how you could acquire a minor or a 3-point penalty, if you break gait at the walk or trot for up to 2 strides, if you over or under turn up to 1/8 of a turn, you tick or hit a cone while in the arena, or your horse stops crooked or backs crooked or leads or turns sluggishly, can get you a minor penalty. Some major or 5-point penalties that can be incurred is not performing the specific gait or not stopping within 10 feet of the designated location. What that looks like is if you're supposed to trot from A to cone B, and you walk for the first 10 feet, that'll incur you a 5-point penalty. Breaking gait at the walk or trot for more than 2 strides. You split the cone, meaning the cone ends up between you and the horse somehow. The horse steps out of or moves the hind end significantly when performing a pivot or a turn. The horse steps out of the setup position while posing, for example, for an inspection, or the horse rests a foot during the setup for inspection. And finally, over or under turns from 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn can result in a 5-point major penalty. Severe or 10-point penalties that can occur are from leading the horse on the wrong side or touching the horse with your hands or your feet, especially when getting them to set up for inspection. Severe penalties also incur for every time you stand directly in front of the horse, which is a huge safety concern. If you drop your lead shank or you lose it at any point, If the hand is wrapped around, or the lead is wrapped around your hand, as well as holding the chain, or two hands on the shank, will result in a severe 10-point penalty. And then, of course, blatant disobediences that might arise, and failure to ever completely demonstrate the correct gait on the pattern. So if you were supposed to trot from A to B, as I used earlier, would result, and you never performed a trot and you walked, you would actually end up with a severe or a 10-point penalty. The exhibitor is not in the correct position during the pattern or inspection. This has to do with starting off your pattern, making sure you start off on the correct side of the horse, as well as at the inspection when the judge is walking around you while the horse is being posed, and the exhibitor should be demonstrating their understanding of quads. Common ways to get a 0 score or a DQ is losing control of the horse in such a manner that is a safety concern and that it endangers the exhibitor, other exhibitors, horses, or even show staff. If the horse escapes the handler, you forget to wear your back number or have the correct back number on. Any willful abuse or excessive schooling while in the arena, as well as having a body condition score of less than 4, and then of course being off pattern, which includes knocking over cones, being on the wrong side of the cones. So let's watch an example of a showmanship run. The pattern for this class is starting at the first cone. The horse is set up on the right side of the cone, so the cone is to the left. Once dismissed, they walk halfway down the line until even with the judge, then trot around the end of the arena and down the center line again, halt when even with the judge, perform a 3/4 turn, walk to the judge, set up for inspection. After dismissal, turn a 1/4 turn or 90 degrees and trot to the marker, and then exit by either breaking down to the walk or continuing on at the trot. Right away, the horse and handler are ready at the cone. The handler has set the horse up, paints a very nice image as the handler is in the correct position, and is watching for the judge to permit them to start the pattern. So right away, I like the attention that the exhibitor is commanding. So the horse is walking forward here with progression, appears to be happy, is focusing on the handler. +1 on the walk. The pair moves right up into the trot. Rounds the end of the arena, heading back to the center line. She remains square, setting her horse up for that downward transition. I would like to see a little more momentum at the trot here at the end, but transitions down well, score 0. Stops and turns when commanded. The horse doesn't step out, but lifts up the hip some, ultimately completes the turn correctly, still score 0. Walks to the judge in a straight line, score +1/2. Inspection starts off well. She gets her horse set up immediately, is looking where the judge is at, positions herself correctly, is in the proper quadrants. Her hand positioning for this class is also correct. You can see she has proper tack, a plain leather halter, lead. It's coiled nicely and smoothly. I would have liked for the horse to stand more square, especially the hind legs, but her inspection is going so smoothly and appears to be correct. So I'm going to give her a 0. Cues the horse to turn, does so a little sluggish, but not enough to earn a penalty, yet still manages to perform the maneuver correctly. Again, score 0. Trots right off, remains straight and balanced, score 0, and exits at the walk, score 0. So I end up with a pattern score of 71.5. I'm going to give her an F&E of 3, giving her a final score of 74.5. So this is a very nice average and correct run that fits the specs of the class well. Now you're probably wondering about her attire. If this was a 4-H class, her attire, the hat, pants, tack, equipment, everything was appropriate except for her shirt. A t-shirt is not appropriate for this class. And if you paid attention, you would have also noticed that she wasn't wearing a back number. But please just remember that this video is for demonstration purposes only. We're working diligently to obtain resources that can be used for demonstrations on these new classes, and I hope it gave you some representation of what the judges will be looking for. Switching gears, we're going to move now to ranch horsemanship. This is another class that we have added for this division, specifically for our ranch riders. Horsemanship is evaluating the rider's form and position in the saddle and on their ability to get their horse to maneuver through a pattern, and that pattern may be before or after rail work depending on the judge's discretion. I just wanted to talk about the basic position in the saddle that we're going to be looking for. A judge is looking for those riders that sit deep and square in the saddle, remains centered, if you will, with the legs hanging to the side. The knees should be slightly bent with the heels down and the toes pointed up. I'm really watching for the ball of the foot to be in the stirrup and the toes parallel to the body or slightly turned out. The rider's back should remain straight. Their shoulders should be square, but should still give the appearance of being relaxed. The rider should be looking up and forward and where they're going. Their chin is nice and square. Their upper arms should be aligned with the body. The rein hand's arms should be bent at the elbow, with the wrist carried out in front and above the saddle horn. Please note that the free hand in this class can be carried bent at the elbow, similar to the rein hand, or it can also just hang straight down at the rider's side. As for connection, this photo provides a great reference photo for this. We're looking for a light connection. We want to see the length of the reins adjusted so that there's light contact with the horse's mouth. The reason for that is so the rider can make just slight adjustments if needed to essentially control the horse. It's very, very important that I point out that riders must sit the trot and the lope and stay close to the saddle. Now, if you are in a class or you have a judge that calls for an extended gait, which judges can call an extension for all three gaits, the walk, trot, or lope in this class. If asking for the extended trot, the riders can post, or they can also hold the saddle horn at the extended trot only. It's optional. Again, you can post or hold the saddle horn, or essentially remain seated in your normal position. Just as we would see in Western horsemanship, similar tack and attire, riders are required to have an approved safety helmet. Ranch riders can wear chinks. They're optional if you want to wear them. As far as the tack goes, this division follows the same Western equipment rules as Western horsemanship. In ranch specifically, I'll just point out you can have a rear cinch only if it's attached to the front cinch. That's really the biggest difference. And then just making sure that you have an appropriate saddle, all your other tack bits, how the reins are held, that doesn't change from Western horsemanship to ranch horsemanship. The concepts still are the same and apply. Riders may be asked to, again, perform all three gaits, both directions of the ring. If the pattern is completed before the rail work, the exhibitors can be worked from the gate or brought in the arena and worked all at the same time. When out on the rail, the judges are going to be looking for those transitions between gaits. They may even ask you to stop on command, and they're evaluating those transitions. And just a friendly reminder in this class, when you're reversing directions, you should always turn inwards towards the center of the ring or away from the rail. The new and updated scoring system for horsemanship will be used to evaluate each maneuver for this class as well. Riders all start at an average score of a 70 and go up or down from there depending on the penalties and maneuver scores obtained. You can see all of the individual penalties listed: minor, major, severe, and DQs, which we'll go over in just a bit. But the rest of the format of the score sheet is very similar to showmanship. You can include show information at the top right hand of the page. You would have abbreviated maneuver descriptions under the pattern work section, and then the judge or a scribe is going to write in the entry number, and the penalty scores, if they occur, go on the top or in the row of boxes or the gray boxes. The bottom row or white boxes are for the maneuver scores. And then your final score is on the right, along with any comments that your judge might make. Some common 3-point or minor penalties: if you break gait at the walk or jog up to 2 strides, if you over or under turn from an 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn, you tick or hit a cone, or you're obviously looking down to check your leads in this class, is how you're going to acquire a minor penalty. Some examples of major or 5-point penalties: not performing the specific gait or not stopping within 10 feet of where you were supposed to. You are on the wrong lead or broke gait at the lope for up to 5 strides, except when correcting an incorrect lead. You broke gait at the walk or trot for more than 2 strides, and you lost your stirrup, or the ball of the foot is not touching the stirrup, will also result in a 5-point penalty for every time that it occurs. Severe penalties can happen if you are on the wrong lead for more than 5 strides, you lose a rein, it gets dropped, you're holding the saddle with either hand except for at the extended trot. Of course, any type of blatant disobedience from your horse, if you spur in front of the cinch, any excessive abuse by using a whip or a crop, or even your hands anywhere on the horse while you are in the arena, or if you're using a rommel, you're cueing the horse with the end of the rommel, will result in a 10-point penalty. How do you get a DQ or a 0 score? You forget to wear your back number, or you have the wrong back number. Willful abuse occurs. You fall off, or the horse or the exhibitor, I guess I should say, both fall to the ground, and a fall is typically categorized by the shoulder and the hip on the same side touching the ground. You have illegal equipment or are holding the reins incorrectly. You go off pattern, which is the most common reason for this 0 score. You knock over cones, work on the wrong side of the cones, add maneuvers, delete maneuvers. You're on the wrong lead, you never perform the designated gait, you over or under turn more than 1/4 of a turn, or if the horse has a body condition score of less than 4, will result in a DQ. So starting with this first ranch horsemanship run, I'm going to set up my score sheet with 5 maneuvers. The first is an extended jog from A to B. Number 2 is a stop and a 270. Number 3 is jog from B to C, actually around C. And then number 4 is loping on the left lead to D. And then 5 is stop and back a horse length. That's how I'm setting up my score sheet for this run. So this rider starts out with great poise and confidence and expression just standing here. I mean, she has an already very commanding presence about her that I really love. And you'll notice that here, as soon as she starts off, she immediately transitions into the extended jog, not wasting any time. She makes her transitions look seamless, earning a +2. She stops and turns on a 270 promptly and correctly. She's looking exactly where she's going next, remains centered in the saddle. She's a very elastic rider, earning a +2. The jog is consistent. Her hands and arms are steady. She has ample connection. She's controlling every move of that horse, +2. She lopes on a straight line to the finish. Her shoulders remain square and her position doesn't change, +1. It's harder to see the back here with the video, but she does so fairly straight and with good precision, earning a +1. This rider has no penalties, and so she'll earn a total score of a 78, and I am going to award her an F&E of 4, as she is such an exquisite rider, and she added quite a bit of degree of difficulty to many of the maneuvers, giving her a final score of 82. Now, if you notice, this rider was using a leg protection, and if this was at an Ohio 4-H show, she would be disqualified, as no leg protection is permitted for this class at this time. So let's look at another ranch horsemanship run. In this pattern, the rider is going to come in at the trot and build up to the extended trot. By the time they reach A and show at the extended trot around the cones in a serpentine. Once they come around to C, they're going to slow down to the regular trot a half a circle, transition into the right lead around A. Eventually change leads between A and B, lope the left lead. Once you get down to the end of the arena, extend the lope in a half circle around C, and when even with C, extend the jog until even with A. Stop, perform a 360 to the right, and then back one horse length and jog to the exit. So we start with rider 100. She comes in and they, both the horse and rider sort of exude confidence. They're working together in unison. She has correct posture, light and effective hands, and jogs through the cones effortlessly, demonstrating an extension that is correct, earning a +2. She transitions down to the jog and maintains correct geometry in her circle, earning a +1. Moves right into the right lead. She stays right with her horse through these transitions and maintains that nice horizontal line from bit to elbow, earning her a +1. Her lead change is not only precise, but it's accurate, earning a +2. She works on the left lead and has clear extension, showing greater fluidity and reach. The rider remains in her same position, earning a +2. She transitions down to the extended trot and appears effortless. You'll see she ends up holding the saddle horn, which is acceptable, only at the extended trot, earning a +1. She stops and performs her 360 to the right. It's correct. Nothing exciting. I feel though it's above average as the horse rolls over his hocks. The back is a little long, but it is straight. I'm still going to give her a +1. And she finishes off strong by jogging right off to the exit with good clarity, earning a +1. So I have no penalties for this run, earning a total score of an 81. And I'm going to give her an F and E of 3, making her final score an 84. Thanks for joining us for today's discussion on the Ohio 4-H Horse Program's newest classes in our Ranch Horse Division. Please email Dr. Cole or I your questions, and we'd be more than happy to share those answers with you during our webinar Q&A session.